In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. How are you, dear students? I welcome you once again in Pakistan International School Types virtual learning class. And this is biology class for grade 2nd year. Dear students, we are on chapter number 17, in which we are studying nervous coordination. And our today's topic is peripheral nervous system. And we will talk about some sensory receptors as well. Dear students, in the previous topic, we have seen about central nervous system, like in brain and spinal cord. Today we will see peripheral nervous system. So you can see, just revise it or take a review of that. Nervous system is composed of two types of different systems: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is composed of brain and spinal cord, if you can see here, and peripheral nervous system is composed of further two different systems: autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system. You can see this peripheral nervous system. Actually, they are the connective nerves which are connected with the central nervous system. You can see here it is divided into further two systems. One is autonomic nervous system and the other one is somatic nervous system. Autonomic we'll discuss in detail. Somatic nervous system actually that communicates with sense organs and voluntary actions are controlled with somatic nervous system. And then we will see autonomic nervous system. In somatic nervous systems, cranial nerves and spinal nerves are included. And we can see there are in cranial and spinal nerves, we are having sensory nervous system or motor nervous system in which sensory neurons are putting their message into towards the central nervous system, and then we will having motor neurons which take the output, motor output, and then send them to the effectors, and these effectors are glands or skeletal muscles. So we can say the sensory nervous system or sensory neurons are efferent neurons. Efferent means they take the information towards the system, towards the CNS, and efferent means motor neurons which carry the messages out of that central nervous system. So here we will see cranial and spinal nerves, as well as you can see these are cranial nerves and these are spinal nerves. Then we will describe okay, so in autonomic nervous system, that is divided into further two systems, that is sympathetic and parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is arousing or parasympathetic is calming. Then we can say in simple words, sympathetic just act in very dangerous situations, and that is fight and flight response. Parasympathetic just opposite or antagonistic of that, that gives rest or digest behavior. So let's talk about one by one, all of them in detail. So we will see here peripheral nervous system. And peripheral nervous system is composed of cranial nerves as well as spinal nerves. If you see cranial or the nerves which are present in the brains or cranium. So this is central nervous system, and from left and right, or from both of the sides, lots of several number of nerves or neurons arise from them on both of the sides of our body. So this is called peripheral nervous system, like which are present at the periphery of our body. So here we can see two types. Number one, cranial nerves, and then spinal nerves. So if we talk about cranial nerves, so they are 12 pairs, and these 12 pairs 12 pairs of cranial nerves, they arise from the brain, like you can see these yellow colors, they are cranial nerves, and from they are present in the form of pairs because the left and the right side they are having the same nerve. So they are named as number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 1, 5, 2, 5, 3, because they are having the same um, like same entrance and same exit from there, like at the side or like at our face. And then we are having number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 here, 11 and 12. So they are sensory nerves, they are motor nerves, or they are mixed nerve as well. Like the green, you can see these are the sensory, red one are motor neurons. You can see like they are giving and sending the messages, and they are present in the head and facial regions, head, neck as well. So you can see here this number 1 that provides to the olfactory bulb, and that number 2, that 3, 4 and 6, they are the nerves, sensory and motor neurons, which just supply to the eye muscles. Then we are having number 5, which supplies to the upper side, upper portion of the face, and then the lower face, like it is connecting with the olfactory nerve as well, olfactory bulb, as well as the lower jaw. Then you can see number 6 as well in the eye, number 7 and to the face. You can see from here the nerve arises and it goes in the different parts of the face and controls these all the muscles. Then number 8, that it provides vestibular ocular nerve that provides the sensation to our inner ear. And then we are having this glossopharyngeal nerve that acts, or we can say that provides a sensation towards, or look, it just moves into here into the tongue. Then a hypoglossal nerve, then it provides into the tongue and below the tongue as well as the lower jaw. Then accessory nerve that provides the sensation to the back of our neck muscles. And then number 10 here, that is the major nerve that supplies the sensation to the heart as well as some visceral organs. Okay. Let's talk about spinal nerves. You can see from spinal cord, from cervical nerves to the coccygeal nerves. They are 31 in numbers. So you can see 8 paired cervical nerves are there from C1 to C8, where the cervical region, like the neck region, is there. 12 thoracic nerves are there, like at the thoracic region, where are what we can say the intercostal muscles present over there. So intercostal nerves also provide them. And then we are having 5 lumbar nerves, L1 to L5, which provides our abdomen portion. 5 sacral nerves at the back of S1 to S5, and then 1 pair of coccygeal nerve that provides to our coccygeal bone, so that we can write here the spinal formula, that is C8, means cervical 8 neurons are there, T12 thoracic 12 nerves, and L5 lumbar 5, sacral 5, and coccygeal 1. So they are 31 in number. So they are mixed nerves as well, sensory and nerves are there. Two-way pathway, it is having two-way pathway. It does not exist only in one pathway. So you can see here there is dorsal root and ventral root of spinal nerve. Dorsal root, which is present at our back, and ventral root, which is present inward our body organs. So that is afferent neuron, like sensory neuron, which moves and take the senses towards this. This is a spinal cord, and then we are having ventral root, which carries the motor or efferent neuron. So that is just coming out of the vertebral column, because the spinal cord is present in between the inside the vertebral column. So when it comes out of the spinal cord, so what happened, these dorsal and ventral root this combine and form one connection here. You can see one neuron one covering of that, and then some goes to the receptors like the skin, sensory neuron, and effectors to the effectors, motor neurons move towards that. In between both of them, we are having interneurons. Or mixed neurons, or we can say where the messages are interpreted over there, and then they give messages to the brains, to the effectors. Sometimes the messages go to the brain, but most of the time mixed neurons work for that purpose. So they originate from spinal cord, you can see, and then they go to the arms, legs, neck, and trunk, where we are having reflex arc, as you have seen before. Now we will see somatic nervous system. The somatic nervous system, or CNS, SNS, that is called a voluntary nervous system, and it is a part of peripheral nervous system. As you can see, that is the same as reflex arc. So it carries messages from outer area of the body. So there is afferent neuron and efferent nerve as well, and there is mixed nerve as well, and that provides the messages to the muscles, and that controls the voluntary actions of the body by the skeletal muscles. So that consists of afferent and efferent neurons, which we have talked about, sensory and motor nerves. Let's talk about autonomic or autonomous nervous system. Autonomous nervous system or autonomic nervous system, it controls glands, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles, and the muscles of our viscera or of our internal organs. So it is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. We'll talk about autonomous nervous system, that is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. When sympathetic nervous system is going on, so there is some upregulation of the systems, and somewhere it is down regulation of the system, as you can see, which are not so much important at the time, because energy is consuming for that process. So we have to just conserve the energy for uprising of some of the very important mechanisms in the body. So that is fight or flight response, and parasympathetic, that is antagonistic of sympathetic nervous system. that is PSNS, and that is a rest and digest system. So that calm and make our body rest after this whole like changing in the body systems. So here in sympathetic nervous system, where there is up regulation, in parasympathetic there is down regulation of them, and then energy, what we can say, stores of glucose and stores of energy they keep over there, and some there is up regulation of some systems. So let's talk about autonomous nervous system in detail. That if we just compare sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, it composed of lots of ganglions. Actually, ganglions is the combination, or we can say where they all the neurons get together, they form the plexus, so they form ganglion over there. So first of all, if we see sympathetic nervous system, that is uh, that is not a single neuron is just controlling that one. There are two neurons. The first is preganglionic neuron, like here ganglion is present, we'll talk about in the next diagram. So soma is usually in the spine here, that is present, this one is present in spinal cord. And here this preganglionic, like here ganglion is present, so before that ganglion there is preganglionic neuron, and that is shorter, axon is shorter, but postganglionic neuron is longer. So if you talk about, just compare this one, parasympathetic, so that is soma is in brain and sometimes in spinal cord, so it means that carries just performs a function gradually, very slowly. It keeps the situation at rest. So that is longer. And if we talk about postganglionic neurons, so there is, that is shorter as compared to the postganglionic of parasympathetic neuron. So they are located next to the spinal cord, means out of the spinal cord, and here is usually in a ganglion near the targeted organ, for example muscles or glands. Okay, so here the neurotransmitters in a preganglionic neuron, that is for both of them, that is acetylcholine. But the difference is here in sympathetic nervous system, because this is fight or flight response, so that release epinephrine and norepinephrine uh, mm, neurotransmitters, which triggers all these type of responses. And here that can be acetylcholine again, or nitric oxide can be the neurotransmitter in rest and digest behavior. So let's talk about here in detail that what happened in sympathetic nervous system, because these are the ganglions which we're talking about. This is a neuron that is called presynaptic neuron, and this is postsynaptic neurons. These are, so they are present in a sacral region, cervical region, thoracic region, and lumbar region. As compared to sympathetic, you can see parasympathetic, that is present, neurons is present in the cranial region, where there is the most importantly vagus nerve, the very important and big nerve which just controls all of these visual organs, as well as some arise from the sacral regions. So we can see here what happened in sympathetic nervous system, like when you see a dog behind you, or when you are suffering from any dangerous situation, any shocky situation. So what happened, uh, suddenly our pupil dilates, and then our heartbeat increases. This is very, very importantly which performs very important function here, like when heartbeat increases, so definitely airways like our respiratory systems or that bronchioles, all the tubules dilate, and then we breathe very strongly and fastly. Then we are having sweating also in our body, and that stimulates the secretion of the sweat glands. Then liver increase the rate of glycogen to glucose. Like uh, up to here, all the processes are upregulated, and when the processes are upregulated here, so what happened, the processes which are not so important here, so they will be down regulated here, and energy is conserved or saved for this flight and fright response. So we can fight against that situation, or we can flight or fright from that situation, like we run away where the dog is present. So our digestive system decrease its activity, and adrenal glands stimulates the production of adrenaline, that is also upregulation, like which are present and up on the kidney adrenal glands, so they start to produce adrenaline hormone. And then uterus vaginal contraction is there, and urinary system that also relax, and urination process stop. So opposite of that, when we get out of that situation, so gradually our body just maintains its normal condition. Because if all the time these situations happens, the person there can be the nervous tension, and nervous breakdown can be done, and the person can die. um, Opposite of that, the pupil constrict in parasympathetic nervous system, of which arise the nerve from the cranium. Um, and then we are having the heart, a slow heartbeat gradually, because in place of adrenaline now our body is secreting nitrous oxide or acetylcholine. So here is down regulation of all the systems. So airways that constricts, and our breathing rate gets normal. Then our liver stimulates bile release. Here it just stops the bile release, this one from here, for it means that helps. Now it's in digestion, so this process, digestion process stops here, but here it's going to start. Blood vessels constrict, and here blood vessels dilate to flow more blood to the heart. Digestive system stimulates and active and what happens, there are digestion like it increases now. Then after some time we feel a hunger, and then a uterus a relaxation is there, and then urinary system is like going to increase. Now there is urinary output, and urination process starts. So you can see the invasion of these neurons. This is sympathetic neuron. So you can see from the cervical up to the lumbar region, we are having these pre-ganglionic neurons, because these are the ganglions, all these you can see, and here post-ganglion. So these are shorter and these are longer. And here you can see they arise from the cranium, especially this vagus nerve and optic nerve as well. And then from the sacrum, these arise, and then you can see they reaches to different organs here. And then we are having the antagonistic mechanism of this autonomous nervous system. Okay, dear students, I hope that like you understood and enjoyed that very, very interesting topic of autonomous nervous system. Now we will see sensory receptors and their working. If we just we talk about the sensory receptors, we know that we are having five senses and we are having five sensory organs like eyes. Yes, that is eyes, nose, ears, and then we are having skin for the touch and tongue for the taste. So we'll talk about one by one, just a few very, very important here. Olfactory receptors, which are related with nose, taste receptors, which are like for our taste present in the tongue, and sensory receptors as well, because about eye and ear we have talked about in the previous classes. Olfactory receptors, they are present in the upper lining of the nose. So you can see olfactory epithelium here, and then it is having the inside structure, zoom in structure here at this place. So you can see down here with hanging outside, they are actually the receptors of that olfaction or odor, that is cilia, and these lots of cilia are present at this place, and then they are present in the basal cell, the lining of the cell. These basal cells are very important because these are the basic cells from which the new cells arise. So these are the dendrites, then olfactory sensory neurons. This is the nucleus, and then they are prolonged axon as well. And then we are having these edges or the terminals into the olfactory bulb. This is olfactory bulb, and this bulb means here all the these endings of the axons just get together here, and then they become a one neuron and then move into the brain. So actually what happens here when the chemicals, which chemicals, these odor particles, they are the chemicals which release from any substance. For example, from flower, when it releases, so it has to be dissolved in water. How does it dissolve in water if there is less humidity outside? So they just move into the nose. So we can see here the mucus layer around this cilia. So this mucus layer is sticky and liquidy. So these particles just dissolve in them, and then they touch this cilia, and then they move like they produce sensations, or they produce action potential, and then the neurons get depolarized, and then they transfer the charges or action potentials towards the nerve endings here to the axons, and then to the olfactory nerves, and then stimuli are to the brain, and then the brain just perceive the smell, whether it is fragrance or bad smell. Then now we will see taste receptors. Taste receptors are present on the tongue, and these taste receptors look like this. It looks like this, a bumpy structure just present. This is present under the skin. This whole taste receptor is present under the skin. But how it, like you can see where these gustatory hairs are like relating to taste, that is called gustatory hair or gustatory receptors. So these receptors are having several receptor cells here, you can see under inside the tongue, and that appears a bumpy appearance, or that is called papillae out of the tongue. So uh, where these are like where these cells just join here, and here are very small thread-like structures. These are called gustatory hair, and they are present inside this pit. Here is a very, very little hole, a taste pore, by which the food that we eat, the chemicals of that release and this stick with this hair. So these hairs get sensations and stimuli, and just these stimuli move towards these cranial nerves which are present on these cells, and then from these nerves they move into the brain. So here we know that we are having four type of taste buds. This is called actually a bud. So these are four types of taste buds are present here, and these four types of taste buds, like at the back of the tongue we are having bitter taste buds, and at the front we are having a sweet, the taste buds, and then here sour, and then salty on both of the sides. So these are all over the tongue. We are having different forms of papillae, like you can see here for acidic or for sour taste. We are having foliate papillae, like they are present in the linear form. If we see at the back of the tongue where there is bumpy, more circular structure, that's called circumvallate papillae. Fili papillae, they are cone-shaped structures which are spread around inside that, and fungiform papillae, which acts like fungi-like structure, and you can see all this. But sometimes it happens is the taste buds overlapping over one another, because we don't feel taste at one side of the tongue, but we feel on whole of the tongue. Now we will see sensory receptors in human skin. That is not only one type of sensory receptors are present in the skin. Skin is having different layers. The epidermis layer, where we can say almost no sensation, because um, we don't have such any type of sensory receptors here. But the dermis is having very much important, because all the receptors are present in the dermis, and then hypodermis is having blood vessels and neurons and hair, and like roots as well here. So the dermis of the skin contains receptors for touch, for pressure, temperature, and pain. So you can see here Misner's corpuscles and Markle's corpuscles, which are having the senses for touch. And these consist of, we can say, the small oval masses of flattened connective cells. Two or more sensory endings, you can see this is not one, two or more sensory neurons are present at the end here inside these knobs. Mesonomic corpuscles especially numerous in some parts of the body, that are our lips, our fingertips, our palms and sole, where we feel much touch. Then we are having Pacinian or Pacinian corpuscles, and they just feel pressure, and they are encapsulated nerve endings, having on up of this ending we are having the capsule over there, and they are concerned with sensation of pressure. So receptors for touch and pressure, like this touch and this pressure, you can see they are almost the same structure, so they are called mechanoreceptors. So we are having nociceptors, just nerve endings or nerve ganglions are present here. They sense pain. So pain receptors are located at the top of the skin in epidermis as well. As you see, they are touching the epidermis of like from here and from here, almost near towards that. And these receptors are naked dendrites. They are having, you can see they are not encapsulated, so they are having naked, you can see here clearly, naked endings. So that's why very little pain you can feel by these nerve endings of these nociceptors. So they respond to chemicals released by damaged tissues or axis. That's why we feel them in under the skin and inside our visceral organs as well. So these receptors are widely distributed throughout the skin and into tissue, except in the tissue of the brain. Like brain tissue does not have nerve endings for the pain. Uh, so we'll talk about how does it happens. So okay, so there are some other we can say some other receptors are present. Raffinase endings are present. So that feels heat. That is for the heat perception. And if we just talk about Marcus discs, they are also for the touch. So for minor and major touch, we can very slight or like a very tight or strong touch we can feel with our skin. So Marcus touch is for actually light, very slight touch. And then we are having cross and bulbs, and they are for cold. And we are having root hair plexus, also nerves are also present over there. So when we pluck the hair, we feel pain in our skin. So dear students, that's it for today. I hope you understood the lecture, and inshallah we will continue this chapter in the next lecture. Wish you all the best. Allah Hafiz.